Recording. Yeah, my audio on Zoom is correct.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Greetings, Magic Mobbers. Welcome, boys and babes. It's that time again. It's the Magic Hour, a place where we navigate through life's peaks and valleys with all the vulnerability and shamelessness we can muster. With the help of world-class guests from all walks of life, we uncover new truths and valuable tools for manifesting our highest potential. I'm your host, Mercedes Terrell, along with my partner in shine, Jade Bryce.
Hey, you guys. Hey.
Hi. We can't hear you. Can you hear her, Jade?
The lag though. Let's see if it turns on. Yeah.
It usually takes like 15 seconds.
Shoot.
Still no. Connie, look in your bottom left corner where the little microphone is on the Zoom.
I saw her just turn it on and off.
Yeah. Check.
There it goes.
Yay!
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yay!
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
You always have such cool jackets on.
You do. That is your thing.
I love jackets. I can't get enough.
Amazing.
The lighting's good. You're a little quiet.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me turn mine up. Check. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, I can do more too.
Yeah, it was weird too because Zoom wasn't even recognizing you were talking until you turned it up.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, now it's
Okay.
picking up your face. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Hi.
Hi. How was last night?
It was wonderful. Yeah, the film. Have you guys seen the film? Because that was my first time.
No, I read the script, so I'm excited to see the film.
Yeah. It
comes
really
out here
beautiful.
next weekend in Austin. It comes out on the 8th. So
Okay. Oh, so you're in Austin. Okay.
Yeah.
Mercedes, where are you at?
I'm in Orange County.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, California.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a really big group to go see it. Hopefully, it has a good. The first opening weekend is so important, so try to promote it as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's good. It was really, Aldous does a really good job.
Yeah, I was really trying to get Tom, talk him into booking, Michael B. Jordan, because I have such a big crush on him.
Oh my God. So beautiful.
And Tom did pitch it to him, but he was busy with Black Panther.
Minor project.
Silly superhero show. Yeah, but I'm excited to see it with that actor too.
Yeah, he's great. I feel like he has something pretty special.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
So, great. Connie, before we get started, I want to just double check your audio is all good. Have you used Zoom before?
I have. I've always just used it with my computer speaker.
Okay, so right now you have your microphone is the selected microphone in that bottom left corner and all that, and then the speaker is built-in output. Is that how you have it?
I have it. Everything's going through my audio interface. My Duet USB. Okay. So it should be going through my microphone.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Does it sound okay to you, or
sounds good to me?
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so we'll read your just your little intro and then start asking you questions.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool. Okay. We record the other part later, but Mercedes usually just comes off saying something, so this sounds a little random, but I'm just gonna go into it.
Great. It'll make sense later.
Awesome.
Okay. Yes, as a child of immigrants from China, she initially performed as an independent artist for several years and appeared on the very first season of the television show The Voice. She rose to widespread attention after a video of a performance of her song Quiet at the 2017 Women's March, which went viral and became embraced as an anthem for the movement. Inspired by her own experiences with sexual assault, domestic abuse, and trauma as a teenager, she had written the song as a way of coping. Along with 26 other singers, she performed 7 times throughout the march among the crowd, where it was recorded and uploaded to social media, garnering 8 million views in just 2 days and shared by a number of well-known celebrities. It became an anthem for victims of sexual abuse all over the world, and within a month, she had appeared on a number of national talk shows and signed a deal with Atlantic Records. She says, I am a survivor of abuse and anorexia and depression. It's been quite a journey getting here, and that song is a thesis of my journey as a woman, as an Asian American, and as a feminist, as a human being who has been silenced in one way or another. It's about helping people who have felt silence reclaim their power. Hers are songs of empowerment and cathartic healing for the displaced and brokenhearted. She reminds us all that this is not the end. Connie, thank you for healing our hearts through your music. We're so honored to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stoked to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited. Can you tell us about your story that led up to the song Quiet coming out of you?
Yeah. So I grew up in a traditional home. My parents both moved from Hong Kong, and my dad had a very American hero dream journey where he moved here with $1,000 and then worked his way as a custodian and as a burger flipper, and worked his way through pharmacy school, then worked his way through medical school, and this is as if he walked uphill in the snow both ways.
Wow.
Yeah, and he brought my mom over, and my mom also is just this incredible, really strong woman. She actually didn't realize that she had, I think, close to 60 to 70% hearing loss ever since she was young. She grew up in poverty, and so she always thought she was dumb. She just thought she didn't understand stuff in school. And finally, when my parents were in the States and they had enough money to go to the doctor, and my dad had a suspicion maybe you have hearing loss. So my mom then gained hearing back, and she's come into her own as a woman in her 50s and 60s. She's just it's been really cool to see her renaissance. But so my background is, I come from 2 really strong, hardworking parents that saw life as, work hard, build a skill, serve society. And I still hold those values really true to me. I just built a skill that they didn't think was necessarily practical skill. And from my dad, he's a doctor, my sister's a doctor. And there's many people in my family studying medicine, and true to the, Chinese American. Yeah, that's tends to be a trend in our heritage and culture. And so since I was very young, always felt a little bit like I was too much. I was too emotional, too opinionated, too loud, too goofy, all these things. And so I rebelled against what my parents wanted from me ever since I was really young, fortunately, unfortunately. And, I grew up with things, things like women with small mouths and big eyes are more attractive because they observe more and speak less. And so I remember thinking when I was younger, I was like, oh crap, I'm screwed. So music was a place where I could express everything I wanted to. Because my upbringing was so strict, I didn't know how to confront people or actually express what I truly felt, because I was met with a lot of restriction and discipline. So I was trained from an early age to keep quiet and observe what's going around me and be polite and be amenable to others. And as a result, I got really good at the blank check syndrome, which is go into a room, read what the room needs, and I'm just a blank check. Whatever number people need, I can write that in. And it became a devastatingly useful skill, but also it just wore away at me, and I ended up being in my early 20s, not knowing who I was at all. And on top of that, when I was 14, I experienced a relationship that ended up being very abusive, and I was sexually assaulted in a relationship. And so the boundaries are really blurred, and I didn't understand that I was being raped and coerced into physical activities I wasn't ready for. And so when I had declared that to my family, like, something's happened with me and it's been going on for months, I was like crying out for help. But, with the traditional culture, what happened was that, my parents love me so much. And I think what they didn't mean to do this, but with this traditional structure that they've been raised in, the response was like, I brought shame to the family. So for a very long time, like about 10 to 14 years, I just kind of felt like I brought shame to the family. There's something inherently troublesome and dirty about me. And so I stood in my own way in a lot of aspects of my life, from school to career opportunities to relationships and friendships. I always had this underlying belief that there's something inherently wrong with me. And if I got too close to people, people would discover how broken I was and I would eventually disappoint them. So I kept a big wall up and I kept my distance from people, and eventually felt very isolated. And so, I also was not allowing myself to believe in myself. So if there was, say, a mentor that could lead me down the music industry path, and that someone that I really looked up to, I had that story playing in my mind. She's like, well, you're broken and you're going to disappoint them. So I wouldn't allow myself to even like go up to them and say hi, because I was like, no, you don't deserve that. And, there's like all those self-help books, and there's questions like, what do you believe for yourself? Like, if you could think big, what would you want? And I just felt this like belief ceiling. I felt my brain hit up against the glass ceiling. And I was like, how do I get rid of this? And eventually, like mid-20s, I was like, I want to believe that I can do more, that I can be a better manifestation of myself. And so I thought maybe I need to like go to therapy, because I knew I was depressed. I knew I had like anxiety, and I knew I had eating disorders and stuff that I was like working through. So I ended up going to therapy, and I realized, oh my goodness, the things that I had gone through when I was younger was actually not my fault. And that was like, I almost had to take a step back and be like, that's a little indulgent, Connie. Like, but then I started playing around with the idea. I was like, okay, well, I have a performance coming up at this open mic series. I'm just going to like practice and just say I'm a survivor of sexual assault. And and I said it like really carefully, as if I was walking on eggshells or like walking on a frozen pond. And, lo and behold, the pond didn't break beneath me. People didn't throw things at me. The world did not end, and people just listened. And then I told my story, and then I shared more of me. And so that was a healing process. And through that therapy and practicing speaking out as a survivor, I started having dreams where I was redesigning my childhood. And I had memories of my childhood, and I would reconstruct how I reacted. And the little version of me in my dreams was saying the things I wish I had said. So on one particular night, my abuser was hitting me, and there was someone watching on the side. And so I said 3 things in the dream that I had never said before, ever, even to myself. Was 1, I looked at the observer and I said, this isn't right. And 2, I need someone to help me. And the observer responded saying like, well, if we say anything, it's going to get worse. So you should just keep quiet for now and it'll be over soon. And I had heard that a lot, is like, keep quiet for now, it'll be over soon. So I said the 3rd thing that I had never said, and I was like, well, I can't keep quiet. And I woke up pretty immediately afterwards, and it was such a vivid dream. And I went to the studio that day to write with one of my favorite co-writers. Her name is Adrienne Gonzalez. She's an amazing engineer and producer, writer. And I told her about the dream, and she was just, her look on her face was just very empathetic. And she was like, well, I think that's your song. And so I was like, what? Oh, you mean I can't keep quiet? And so then all of a sudden, just like in like the span of 2 to 3 hours, this beautiful, like, string of lyrics just started pouring out of both of us. And out came the song, Quiet, which is what I ended up singing at the Women's March. And I had written that song by the end of 2015, and I kept it to myself for all of 2016. Because at that time, like the music that was pretty big was like dance music and EDM. And I was like, I don't know if this song is. I was protective of the song. I was like, it's so. I felt like if I was gonna release it, it would get like crushed by this like big modern world, and I was like, I don't need it to be shared because honestly, it just helped me feel like I could breathe again.
Yeah.
I think like survivors, when we go through, anyone who has gone through trauma or abuse, like I feel like there's this ball of energy that builds up in our bodies and becomes like for me, it was like a ball of energy in my throat. And if I didn't release it, it would just break me. And so for years I was trying to figure out how to release this ball of energy, and I try to write all these different types of songs, like Don't Tell Me Not to Cry, that was one song, or like, you know, different things, but nothing really helped until I wrote this song. And once I wrote that song, I was like, I could breathe. And so it didn't matter to me if it's shared or not, but so it sat there in my laptop and in my mind and my heart until I saw Trump get elected. And you know, regardless of like political lines, I just really disagreed with how he talked about women. And so I was like, I need to express this dissent. I don't know how. And then a Facebook event popped up about the Women's March. And I was like, oh, wow. This looks cool. Like women gathering in a city, expressing what we truly want for the society. Yes, please. So I immediately like RSVP'd yes, and no one really knew what it was, but I don't like being a bystander too much. I really like creating something and offering, even if I wasn't on the stage of the Women's March. I actually had applied, but they didn't respond to me. So wow. Yeah, I'm sure they were inundated. But I was like, whatever, we're just going to go on the streets and it'll be like more punk rock, and I'll just recruit people to sing with me. And no one in LA was wanting to commit to go to DC with me. No one really knew what the Women's March was yet. So I was like, no problem. I'll just reach out to a bunch of a cappella groups in the DC area. Wow. I wrote some sheet music, recorded some audio files, and then put it on a Google Drive. And then we all shared the information and files, and we rehearsed on Skype. And then we met up on the day of the march, and we harmonized. It was so beautiful. Just strangers from ages like 17, 18 to like 40 some years old, just 26 women together, all different colors and shapes and sizes. And so we went around and started singing the song, and then Alma Harrell happened to walk by, and Alma Harrell is a really well-known music video director, now movie director. She happened to walk by, and as she was lost, we were lost too. And I was like, you know what, screw it, we're just gonna sing this last one here. And she filmed that last one. That's the one that like got retweeted by Deborah Messing, Emma Watson, like Tegan and Sarah, and just accrued a lot of views in a couple days. And then my life kind of changed. Yeah, so that's the long story long.
Amazing. It's amazing though, and I'm sure it seems obvious why that song went viral, especially at the time that it did. But what do you think is the reason that it did, and what did it feel like for you when that all happened, when your life changed?
I questioned, like, why is this happening? You know, this is I was just gonna go. You know, it's not like edgy and super cool, like we were singing a cappella on the streets, you know, and it was an unknown song, and it was like kind of a mid-tempo ballad. So I was very surprised, but then I kind of took a step back after a few weeks because the whirlwind was just like, I don't even know. But I looked at it, and you know, I wrote that song because I didn't feel safe in my body. I didn't feel safe in my home. I didn't feel safe in my childhood, and I think that is a micro version of a lot of us not feeling safe in our cities or our governments, our nation. And this type of unsafety, this like feeling of not being safe, is actually pretty universal right now. I think a lot of countries are experiencing kind of this rise of hate and fear, and also this rise of love trying to counteract it. So it felt very spiritual to me. I think about destiny. I think about how there was a light shining and I just happened to hold the prism at the right moment in time, and just like a rainbow ricocheted from that.
Mm-hmm.
And all the being there by chance or not, depending on how we view life. And I also am very, very sure that when a person achieves healing, or not achieves, but when a person dares to heal him or herself, he or she or they develop this natural ability to heal others, not without even trying. And so mine, I think one of my main philosophies in life is like inner peace begets outer peace. And as we feel pretty worn out by the news and activism and all these different things, the good news about what artists can do is that sometimes if we just help people heal their own stories, the piece will resonate outwards naturally. And so that's where I'm kind of sitting right now.
Yeah. Wow.
I love that.
Thanks.
Just taking it all in.
Right? It's just like light subject matter.
Light. Real light this episode.
No, it's all very, very needed and
Yeah.
very just hits to the heart. So you kind of just got to sit for a second.
Yeah, I like joke that I'm a scuba diver. Like,
oh my
God.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so weird, Connie, because it's literally in our intro of you. We talk
what?
Yeah.
Well, in the intro, I say we got to put on our scuba gear because Connie goes deep.
Wait, you literally say that?
Literally, we say that. Wait, listening audience, just so you know, we record those intros before our guest gets on with us, so she has no idea that we related.
I don't know if you had used that term with Tom, but I had talked with Tom and we joked about that, and so I put it in the intro, and then Mercedes was like, "Where the hell did you get this from?"
Oh yeah, because I actually did. Okay, so that's how it happened. Maybe because I told Tom, I was like, "Well, if you want to hang out with me, you gotta get out your scuba gear because we're going deep."
That's
really good.
Really
I might start saying that before my first date.
Yeah.
We're reading the invitation as soon as you arrive.
Hold your nose. We're going. No, that sounds weird. Hold your nose. We're going down. Doesn't translate on a first date. Yeah.
I mean, it could if you want. Whatever you want.
That's really funny.
Oh my God.
Well, your music does already say so much, but as a victim of abuse, what do you want to tell other survivors when it comes to healing?
I think that, one thing, this is not from me. I actually heard this from Oprah at Mountain Film with,
crying.
Healing cannot happen until the trauma is acknowledged. And I think for anyone who has experienced abuse, some of us don't even know we have yet. It may be just a feeling of discomfort or self-blame. I think if you're walking around in the world feeling like you're doing something wrong by being, then maybe something has happened in your life to make you believe that. And that, we all are enough. And that is something that I have had to teach myself over and over again. I feel like if some people are walking around the world trying to prove their value through accomplishments and beauty or different things, there's also maybe it's time to slow down and look at why. And so I think sometimes people don't even know they were abused, and it takes a while, and that's okay. It took me 14 years to acknowledge that. And some people take longer than that, and we're all kind of on our own timelines. But yeah.
Was it hard for you in your adult relationships to open your heart due to that abuse?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I to get super real and very, let's get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Recently got into a relationship where I realized when I was getting intimate with a partner, I would naturally villainize them in a very subconscious way. I would assume that my partner was there just to please himself. Like,
Mm.
and then I would say things to shame that partner. Like,
Mm.
okay, like is this like a,
Girl,
can I
you
get
should
like,
be as
okay,
explicit as you want. That's
okay,
the beauty of podcasting.
okay. So like, you know, I think because I was 14 and I experienced sex in a way that the guy was using me for his own pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I have dated wonderful men in my life, but if they came before I did, I would assume that they were just using me to get there. But maybe they didn't want to and they felt so embarrassed. But in my head, I would naturally assume, oh, okay, I see you.
I relate to that a lot.
Do you relate to that? Yeah. And I actually have said things to partners to shame them. And I've looked, and it just happened in my recent relationship. And the person was like, expressed to me like, hey, so by the way, you know, you kind of like pointed out that, and it like made me feel really bad because I really didn't want to. I really wanted to please you, but I just like, I couldn't hold out. I couldn't keep it together. And I felt so bad because I actually remember saying things, but it was like my inner wounded younger woman saying that to my abuser, but I have been saying it to all these past relationships. So I think about the recent relationships I've had and I was like, man, I think I've shamed each of them. And I, not on purpose, you know?
Sure.
So it's kind of a powerful realization because then I'm like, oh, wow. Like it goes both ways. Like these people that I get into relationships with too, just want to be loved as well. It's not just like me and my feelings, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is so complicated because I was molested for about a year, starting at age 12. And I noticed that when I started, I wasn't sexual until I turned 21, actually.
Wow.
And I was pretty prude after that because the person who first found out about the abuse when I was 14, her response was, I bet you liked it. I bet you liked his fingers in you. And so it gave me this feeling of like disgust with anything sexual. So I became very prude. But then when I turned 21 and did become sexual, it still felt, I still felt so much shame. And then I ended up a lot of years just dating sex addicts back to back, actually, but it was all about them. And so I did what you said, and I relate to that a lot, but I just more turned it into resentment towards them and kind of like I wasn't worthy of being able to feel the sexual pleasure because it was like, for me, it was shameful. It's kind of hard to articulate, but it turned into actual like sexual oppression, suppression for me, to where I had to really take some time to enjoy being sexual by myself for a while, to where I was allowing myself to feel pleasure. And then now I'm still searching for that in a partner. I don't know.
That's yeah, thanks for sharing that. I can relate to that a lot. I feel like because when we get abused, our boundaries get blurred, and then we no longer know who to trust. Like, can we even trust ourselves? Right. And can we trust these partners we're with? So I felt resentment too, but I would like harbor the resentment silently and then it would come out in weird ways. So, yeah, I now am like learning about pleasure and being present. And what's helped me is like deep breathing, actually, like throughout the day, trying to find sensuality within everything I do, actually. Yeah. Because, you know, like after my episode, I actually became overly sexualized because I was like, oh, well, that was taken away from me. No big deal. No big deal that my virginity was taken away. Like sex doesn't matter. It's like nothing. And so I would try to prove that by engaging in a lot of it and pretending I didn't care.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. What about, so you said you struggled with body image as well. What would you say to those struggling with body image?
I remember being at the apex or nearing the climax of my anorexia. I was in high school. It was like my freshman year. And this woman came to school and she was talking about eating disorders. And I asked her, I was like, when does it go away? Like, when does it end? And she said, it doesn't really ever end. It just kind of changes. And I'm not sure about that perspective because I think saying that it never ends is kind of a daunting thing as a kid to hear. But at the same time, I also appreciated her saying that, because then I was ready for the long journey of healing. So maybe I would say that it can take a very, very long time, and the body image issues will morph into different things. And you know, I would like binge and overeat at times, and then be super anorexic. And it's like when we overeat because something is eating at us. And I think the truth is like it's a sense of this anxiety and self-worth. And that practicing of breathing and kind of uh, being with the body and dancing, or just even putting a song in the living room and just kind of like flowing and stuff, can be super therapeutic. And also our bodies are really capable of changing and adapting. So for a long time I thought, I'm not capable of being strong. I've just been like anorexic and thin and weak and stuff. But like now I do CrossFit, and I really enjoy having a relationship with my body and watching it and honoring it. And listening to my body rather than trying to control and suppress and silence it. Because the body's a really good teacher. So
wow. And that reminds me, really a bridge between what you're talking about there with struggling or past struggles with body image, but also what you said about breathing into your sensuality and taking the time and space for your body to do that. It reminds me of a previous guest we had, London Angel Winters, who said to relax your tongue. So like in any moment you can remember, relax your tongue, and it not only relaxes you all the way down into your nether regions. But it just it's a mindfulness practice, ties you into your actual body. So you're thinking so minutely on where you're holding tension in your body.
That's amazing. I love that. As a singer too, I'm really grateful for the practices that I learned in terms of breathing. Like when we breathe and our chest raises, we're actually constricting our breath. Our chest should actually be pretty still, and the movement should be coming from our stomach can push out because our diaphragm is pushing down the muscle right underneath our lungs. And actually our lungs stretch all the way back towards our ribs. So if you put your hands behind on your ribs, like our lungs are back there as well. And so when I breathe, I try to push against the back of my ribs and take deeper breaths that way. And for singing, clenched jaws, because I was really stressed as a kid and anxious. I would like grind my teeth. And so when I would sing, I had like a really small like opening. So my teacher would said, "Hey, like stop chewing gum, and also and be aware of how you're clenching your jaws." So actually, most of the time when I'm at rest, my teeth are not closed all the way. Like I kind of leave a little bit of space between my teeth, so that there's like a relaxedness.
I need to do that.
Yeah.
I need to do that. We're all stretching our jaw.
Feels good.
But that does remind me of Jade and I, we spent a long career modeling, and especially standing on stage sometimes under the hot lights of film and all that. And you probably know too,
Smiling.
like thinking about how to look a certain way, even though you may not feel that way. So specifically for me, a big part of where my own panic and anxiety was born was on stage after years of doing this. And finally it caught up to me. Basically what you're talking about, is only breathing in the top half of your lungs. So because when you're sucking in and you're trying to look like you have a flat stomach, and you're trying to hold a posture and smile and, clench your teeth together and all those things, your body's going, are we in a seriously dangerous situation here? Because it feels like it.
Right.
For hours at a time. And eventually it causes that, flight or fright. Fight or flight response. And then you have a breakdown like me, and you figure out that you need to breathe better.
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting, because I can relate to that. I'm sure we all can. Like when I grew up, I felt this pressure to look a certain way, and I think that's like one of the top forms of shaming women is through body shame, and then for men is through vulnerability, and that's what Brene Brown says. And I really do appreciate but Billie Eilish the way she dresses in really baggy clothes. And she's kind of like one of the reasons I've heard is because she doesn't want people to be judging her on how her body is, like because she's like, I want to be able to gain and lose weight in peace.
Yeah.
I think Nicki Minaj one time said, "Let me fat in peace." It's so funny. I always wonder about the balance, like, do I cloak myself in Billie Eilish sweats? Do I allow myself to wear a little crop top? It's so interesting. I'm in a phase right now of trying to take back that agency, and because I dress like a tomboy these days. Like it's been like this armor for me. And I think right now I'm allowing myself to kind of let down the guard a little bit. It's like, how do I bring that femininity back?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hide it for others. Like I want to be able to just do whatever the F I want.
I love
whatever
that
you want.
said that. I had 2 C-sections back to back, like in 12 months apart from each other. And so, my skin was just stretched out. So I still wear crop tops, even though I've got the belly button of I know, like, I don't know if it shows on film, but I've got loose skin around my belly button, and I'll still wear crop tops knowing that, like, that's completely visible just because this is what I really want to wear. And I really like this outfit, and I'm proud of what my body did. And I wasn't able to do that a couple years ago, but now I just feel like I am hoping it'll make other people more comfortable too, to show their post-baby bodies and wear what they think makes them feel sexiest, even if it doesn't look the way that it looks in Instagram, maybe.
But I love that. I feel you, Connie, on like, because I work in this realm where I pretend to be this super hyper feminine woman, even when I'm not always that person, for work, for modeling purposes. When I'm not doing that, I tend to have very masculine clothes and dress much more masculine, and I'm more attracted to the colors in that realm. I don't wear pink almost ever, and it's not because I don't like those colors or anything like that. I think it's just one of those things, like I have to have some sort of balance, and that's where I decide to find it.
Yeah. Wow.
So go ahead.
I was going to say that I think that balance is really healthy, like allowing ourselves to play with different energy levels, like the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And I hope that men and genders in between can play with whatever energies they want.
I love that. I love the way you said that.
I think that that's part of, these terms are getting thrown around too much, but I think that's part of lifting our men up from this culture of toxic masculinity that they've grown up in for so long into, call it modern masculinity or healthy masculinity or whatever you want to call that, but where they can reside somewhere that it's okay to explore the balance that is within them, the masculine, feminine, the yin yang, and the alpha omega, and all those things that make us that can make us these amazing, incredibly balanced humans that do good in the world. Because when we're super imbalanced and we're extreme to any regard, it seems to do negative, it seems to be the opposite for us. So
yeah, it always comes back to balance. Like when I deconstruct like different ways, like when I feel like I might be pushing too hard or something, it always comes back to balance. So I think that's a really, really wise thing.
It really does. I know that sounds so cliche, like, just balance is everything, but it really gotta come back to it every time. Yeah. So this kind of bleeds into our next question here. And this question is, I guess I'm going to say it's of incredible interest to me because it brings light to so much of what we're trying to do with this podcast, which is to highlight both sides of an issue, give it equal space to be worked through, balance, as it were. And since we're in the middle of this conversation with you about, stepping into our strengths as a woman, and your song was so much about that and so much a part of that movement, including the momentum of the hashtag Me Too movement, no longer keeping quiet about the harms that have been done onto us. I feel like this is kind of the perfect moment to bring up that a close friend of all three of ours, Tom Shadyac, premiered a film just last night that you attended the premiere, called Brian Banks, heart-wrenching true story about a young high school football star with a promising future in the NFL who was wrongfully accused of rape and spent over 10 years in prison and on strict parole before the woman who accused him confessed that her entire story was fabricated. So I'm curious of what your thoughts are regarding this predicament, especially in relation to the recent pressures, I guess I'll call it pressures, the hashtag Me Too movement has brought upon our judicial system.
It's a really good question. So I watched Brian Banks last night at the premiere for the first time. And, the whole team behind the movie has actually been doing screenings with like women in entertainment to understand like how does this come off? Like, are we being respectful? And I think their intentions of being respectful and to create nuanced conversation in a mainstream movie, I really do applaud them. I think it was really wise of them to, choose to wait to release this movie and to allow for the Me Too movement to really, really like continue its momentum. And at this point, I think it is a really great time to bring in nuanced conversations about how the Me Too movement can look. I think that, personally, pointing a finger and identifying someone who is a predator is a crucial step in the healing process, but it is not the end step. I think the end step is to figure out how we can heal our men and heal our women in this society. And there are also the nuanced parts of the Me Too movement where there are false accusations, and the percentage is super small. And when I watched this movie, I felt like the focus was actually about how our justice system is not working for a lot of our Americans, especially our brothers, our Black brothers, and just men of color who are, Brian Banks was 16 and he was tried as an adult, and they were 16 years old. We've all made mistakes in our teen years, and for the girl to accuse him, I can empathize, and so I think in the film they have a couple of female characters that help round out this conversation. There is another character who becomes like a love interest, who shares her story of being raped, and there's empathy with her story as well. So I think the point is that trauma comes and shows its face in many different ways, and forgiveness and empathy and compassion are very important in these nuanced conversations. That's why, I don't believe in shaming and shaming people who have done harm. I think we need to identify them and to hold them accountable, and also then to figure out
what's their story.
Yeah, exactly. Because hurt people. So let's identify where the hurt is. And I think I was very protective of the female character who, accused Brian Banks in this film. And I feel like they did a respectable job of portraying that. And I'm curious to hear what other people think too. But I do think it's important for us to stand in the gray and to have detailed, nuanced conversations. If we are going to post about something online, we cannot just blanket statement.
Right.
We really have to take the time to burn those calories, to write the extra words, to write the extra details, because we need that specific information. And this film does that.
Yeah. I love that you say stand in the gray. That's kind of
that's our bio, is journey into the gray with us.
Yeah. Oh, well. We're very aligned.
Yeah.
Naturally.
So, I mean, what is it that I guess you kind of answered it there, but maybe you have something more to elaborate on what we do to better address the issues around rape so that this type of thing doesn't continue to happen.
I think that's a really great question. And I think that listening has lately been the most powerful answer that I can find with any tension I feel about the world, and I'm trying to understand how I fit in it. And I'm like, do I go and do I sing for them? Do we flash mob? Do I write them a song? I'm like, or I can just listen. I can just read and give people, and there's a phrase of like, we must believe all women. I think, I think it's, we must listen to all women and give people the respect and the space. We must listen to all men and all genders in between. Listening, I think listening is one of the most advanced skills that we haven't quite developed yet as a society, and I think we're learning. I think a lot of us are actually focusing on that. I'm sure you guys have had conversations about listening, because there's a lot of power. Sometimes we will like have conversations, and sometimes I'll be like thinking about what I'm going to say before someone has even ended their story, and then I just go, I'm sorry, I was in my head, can you say that last part again, because I really need to capture what you said, because there's a lot of God or / the devil's in the details, and it's really important for us to give space for people to be able to share their details.
Yeah, that resonates very deeply. I know with both Jade and I, but I think that one of the most feminine things you can do, speaking of the feminist movement, is to be the person who does receive, so to speak, is that actually the person taking things in. So listening and for, like you said, all genders, all types, everybody, being the listener and the person who's willing to take the time and energy, because it's energy spent when you do this, to see and hear people clearly, so that they can feel for maybe the first time ever that they have been seen and heard, and so that they know their story has been relayed. Yeah, and relate authentically, and when you give people that type of space, that allows them to come with their most authentic self, I think, too, instead of trying to, be this showboat or trying to be this thing just because they want to be seen so badly.
Right.
And it comes to mind the saying we say a lot on the show, be interested, not interesting, which, man, that's like a superpower in itself, and that basically means listen.
It truly does. And it's so funny, like the song that essentially introduced me to you both, is the chorus is I Can't Keep Quiet. And I think that's a great necessary step for especially women or people who have been silenced. And then now I'm like, okay, but then now I'm gonna choose to be quiet in this moment, because I need to learn. There's so much to learn. When the song went viral, I was like, I have so much to learn. And people are like, you voice of the resistance. I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm just one of the many in this choir. And if I don't listen to what other notes other people are singing, my note will be off, and there's some dissonance. Yeah.
So that chorus is in my head all the time, and my 3-year-old rewrote it.
No way! Why did she write it too?
She said, I cannot sing like you. But she sings, I want a bottle, but my mama says no.
Your 3-year-old daughter
she would
wrote that? Oh my gosh.
To your exact tune. My son sings the chorus the way that you have it, and then my daughter sings it that way.
That's
she's just super sassy. She just wants her damn
cute.
bottle.
Yeah.
Before we move on to our question from our Magic Mob, I was curious. You covered the song. I think it's from the 80s. "Ooh Child," and it's for those who haven't heard it. It goes something like, "Ooh Child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh Child, things are gonna get brighter. Someday we'll be walking in the rays of the beautiful sun." And I was curious what brought you to cover that, because your music is so much about, overcoming abuse and, making it through as a survivor. And that song touches home for me there in that place of my life, because I remember, this is just one of many examples, but I remember being about 3 or 4 and coming out of, me and my parents, we shared a bedroom, coming out of the bedroom, and the middle of the night and seeing my birth dad just laying in his vomit, and there were just drugs everywhere and multiple strange men everywhere. And my mom picked me up and we left to go to a hotel. And I remember going into a hotel and her saying, we can't afford a hotel after all. So we went back like into our little beat up orange car, and she sang that song to me to like make me feel better. But every time that my birth dad would abuse us, she would sing that song. And so it's so interesting, like from how I already feel when I hear your music, and then to hear you sing that song, and I wasn't even expecting it. It just came on Spotify. It just broke me. So I'm curious how you came to cover it.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Ooh Child was originally by the Five Stair Steps, and then it just got covered by so many different artists. It's such a classic, and I love songs that are like lullabies that you can sing without music, and they just easily come out. And I actually was tapped by Alma Harrell to work with her on a song to help honor mothers, because she was she became the first woman asked to direct Procter and Gamble's Olympics commercial.
Wow.
And then so she wanted to bring an emotional voice onto the commercial. When she first called me, she's like, "Hey, do you want to do a commercial with me?" I was like, "Oh, commercial music? Oh God, like, I don't know. I just write like these emotional tunes. I don't know." But she's like, "We're looking for an emotional tune." I was like, "Great, I can do that." And so we were talking about like the project was to honor all these different mothers that spend their days like protecting their children and advocating for their children, from disabled children to children going through abuse or poverty. And so we went through and we decided that Ooh Child was going to be the best song. Just, it's so timeless. And as a music nerd, the chords that are used for the song are very unexpected and very non-traditional and super genius. So this song has taught me a lot, and it's such a simple tune. It grounds me, and it happened to also come during, the March for Our Lives movement and looking at the kids rising. And so when I sing that song, I actually picture them singing it to me. Like, I do feel like our youth do take care of us sometimes. So it's like this interesting kind
They're
of
our greatest
reversal.
teachers.
Right. Yeah. But so that song then took on a life of its own. So actually the way that I decided to record it was because of Alma and my friendship that budded from the Women's March, and then our desire to honor mothers. So it makes sense because that song is tied with you and your mom. Yeah.
That's
wow.
So cool.
Well, our Magic Mob sent in a question also on one of your songs, and this is a song I haven't heard yet, so maybe you can break down what it's about. Generally. Lacey on Instagram says her song, so Connie's song Black Sheep gives me so much strength. It's like a song to my inner child. I'd love to hear her story behind it. So
that's really cool. So Black Sheep is a song where I go like, look up, you're not alone, you'll make a home of your own. And take these sticks and stones and build a home of your own is one of the ideas. And every warrior grows from her battles and scars. Don't you know that I love you the way that you are? And I'm really proud of that song because I was able to write it for myself. It was like a love letter to myself. And I don't think I would have been able to write it a day earlier than the day that I wrote it, because Quiet went viral. Then I realized I wasn't alone, because I felt very alone. I've always felt this black sheep narrative, always been different from my family. Always felt like I'm a scuba diver, right? Like, and I need deep connection. And with my family, we connect in other beautiful ways, but with the depth that I require to feel love. As a kid, I just was left wanting for more. I didn't realize how lonely I felt all the time. So once Quiet went viral, I met all these other black sheep all over the world, and people would call me sister. And what I realized is that my family is actually this global family. And so that was a lot of healing. Like, you know, Lacey's probably part of this journey of mine of feeling less alone if she has been part of like any social media interaction with me. Yeah. So then I felt this like hope and this strength, and I was like able to sing from a place of like, oh, this is, you're going to find a home, because I started finding my home within the world and within my body again, you know. I was like, oh, I can, this is me. Like these are my thighs. These are my hips. And this is my throat that sang this song. And these are the people around that like also understand this song and that are messaging me and calling me sister. So I'm okay.
Yeah, I love that so much. It really does sound like a wise woman. Like I said before on the show, we all have an inner child and a wise woman. And when we grow and heal, our wise woman then teaches our inner child to not react in conflict the way that, you know, our inner child is like crying out and with anxiety and stuff. And that song really does sound like this inner wise woman that's like soothing her inner child and like loving on her.
I love the inner child and wise women. I love that dichotomy that you're talking about, because I do feel that way. I have my wise woman sits on the left side of my brain. So when I meditate, I actually hear both voices talking to each other, and I kind of observe the conversation. And my wise woman is to my left, and my inner child's to my right. And that's really, really interesting. I was saying that it's like a darker voice in it, like my ego and my optimistic voice, but I like the wise woman a lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that. Thank you.
That because your left is your feminine side and your right is your masculine. That's what is taught, you know, spiritually, is that this represents your feminine. So that's interesting that you already had your wise woman over there and then your inner child on your masculine. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
What does your spiritual life look like?
I am super spiritual. I did not grow. So I grew up with the religion of Buddhism. And it's a more superstitious practice from on my parents' side. It's like ritualistic, where we go to the temple, burn incense, and there are these gods that like we put incense on, and you know, bow to. And it was so ritualistic. And also I remember being like 11 and telling my mom, I looked her in the eyes when we were at the temple. I was like, Mom, I don't really believe this, and I don't want to do it this way. And I will forever love my mother for giving me that freedom. She's like, okay.
Wow.
And so I found my own way. I feel like the universe is very connected. And you know, I think there's a lot of wisdom in nature. Nature feels like a really beautiful teacher. Like nature doesn't hoard, doesn't take more than it needs. And the things in nature that do that end up dying off. And trees teach me a lot because they're so communal and they pass nutrients through their roots and really take care of each other. And so I feel like, you know, I feel like there is a beautiful force that gifts us with darkness, and we turn those darknesses into gifts and into how we heal each other. So yeah, it's a spiritual way of looking at things. And the older I get, the more I look at the world that way. So yeah.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah.
So we have a pick your poison.
We do this on every show since we're the magic hour.
Pick your poison from Ray on Facebook. He asks, would you rather know the uncomfortable truth of the world or believe a comforting lie?
I would rather, hands down, know the uncomfortable truth of the world. And
so much growth.
There's so much growth, yes, and like so much potential to understand and to challenge myself. There's this type of lethargy that comes with this comfortable lie. And I don't feel comfortable with that extra weight of safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
the exact same way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that that's a big part of, you know, even what the show is about is digging up some uncomfortable truths. You know, we call it seek the pain for positive gain. But I will say that some days I'm like,
I know.
Look, let me live in this lie for a minute. I need a break. I'm It's too heavy. Like, I just need to chill for a minute. So
yeah, balance is everything, right? Like
Yeah.
like what you just said. I have a poster on my wall now, and my friend Yumi Sakugawa is this amazing like spiritual illustrator and storyteller. She has this illustration of cartoon lungs and says, sometimes it's okay if the only thing you did today was breathe. And that within itself is activism too, because you know, who says that we have to always be plugged in? Or like, you know, the act of just choosing, what we want to do in that moment is activism. As long as it's done out of love and especially self-love. I take like news fasts. Like I'll be like, okay, it's time for a news fast. I did a news fast for a week and a half, or it stretched to 2 weeks. I was like, that's too long. I was like, okay, I need to come back to the world. I had to do a like catch up. So now it's like 3 days. I'll do 3 days of news fasting, and I'll allow myself to be that person that doesn't know what's going on. And I'm actually practicing to not pretend I know things. Like when someone's like, did you hear about the thing? I was like, no, I did not. And just allowing myself to just not be the most informed at that moment, and just so that I can be present with people, because I feel like my activism is like listening and honoring people in the moment. And sometimes the news, because it is profit driven, does not serve us well in that sense.
Yes. We have
plus we need to fill our cup back up. I mean, sometimes we need a little, I feel like if we're doing if we're being conscious about where we're taking breaks and how we're taking the break, whatever, you know, if it's a news fast or whatever, that's the mindfulness there, the consciousness that you've got going behind that is what's going to bring you back around, so that the big picture is that you're going to continue to progress and move forward on whatever your plan is, or the goal, or, you know, the betterment of all, or whatever your service is.
Yeah, right. I love that.
Did you connect with Sophia Bush at Mountain Film?
Yeah, and I've met her through. I'm gonna do this again this year, but this is a tour called Together Live.
It's not in Austin. I'm so bummed.
It is. I think. Oh, Houston. It's in Houston.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look at the date and maybe.
Yeah, let me know if you want to come.
I do want to come.
Okay.
The Together Live tour.
Together Live. Okay.
Yeah.
Like so many people that are like they. I don't even know what to call them. They just they keep the light, you know.
The light workers.
Yes, the light workers are on Strayed. That. Yeah, Cheryl Strayed, Glennon Doyle, her wife, Sophia. There's so many. It's only missing Ellen.
Yeah.
Oprah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would love to go to that. But yeah, you remind me of Sophia a lot, so that's why I asked.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I remember listening to her on stage. That's a compliment, because, you know, during the tour, I listened to her speak, and after backstage, I was like, I really love your brain and your heart.
Y'all have the same brain and heart, I feel.
So I'm basically just really into myself. I'm like, lady who's like, I love you.
That's really funny. But that's why you recognize it in her.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. All right. So there's a few short questions we like to ask everyone who comes on the show. So first off, if you could hug your younger self right now, what would you say?
I would say to keep singing. Just keep singing. Yeah, all the time. Just keep
How
singing.
old were you then you're talking to?
I would say like 6, 7. Yeah. Yeah. Just to allow that to be. And I used that as my way of healing and seeing the world. And so I would just, you know, maybe I would say like, listen to that voice that says you're a singer. Cause it's on the left side of my brain. Again, like whenever I was a kid, people would be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I had a little voice that'd be like a singer, and I would suppress it. I thought life was like, you have this voice on the left side of your head, and you just silence it, and then you say what other people want you to say. I thought that was what life was. And then I realized that it doesn't have to be that way. So
interesting.
Yeah.
If you could if you could have the whole world read one book, which would it be?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Oh man, I don't know why this is coming up but The Giving Tree.
Oh, my kids love that book so much.
Yeah, I think there's like something really heartbreaking and also very real about people who give, and such a beauty, and to understand the taking and then the receiving and the interdependence we have together. I think it's just a great book to understand, like to teach empathy, like how much people are able to sacrifice for each other, and how much nature sacrifices for us, and how we inherently are a bit of takers as humans. And so to be conscious of that. Yeah.
Man, I love that.
Yeah. That's just such an interesting concept too, because I feel like we're always trying to divide ourselves between, who's a taker and who's a giver. And again, comes back to balance.
Yeah.
All right. If you could whisper one phrase to everyone on the planet, what would it be?
I would say, I mean, I say this to myself all the time, is you are enough, Yeah. I know it's like not it's out there. That phrase is out there in the world, but it's a good one. Yeah.
I think it's out there because we need it. Yeah. It's going around because people are like, you know what? I really needed to hear that. So I'm saying it out loud.
Yeah. There's a recent one that I've been like going back in my journals and stuff, and I was doing some dream analysis, and then from one of them came this quote: "Is a storm is a rainbow's chance to visit Earth." So I've been thinking about that a lot too.
I like
that a lot.
I like it because it's so visual.
Yeah. I love rainbows. I have a rainbow necklace on.
Yeah.
Connie, before we let you go, where can people find you online?
They can find me on Instagram at Milck Music, MILCK Music, and on Facebook. I'm mostly active on Instagram, and then I send out handwritten email blasts. Like I'll scan in handwritten letters with illustrations and stuff.
I'm getting on that.
Yeah, so that's like I call it the Gentle Rebel mailing list, and so they can go at milckmusic.com and look there and sign up for that there. I also have a site called ican'tkeepquiet.org where people are sharing their stories of survival, and then and people are responding to the stories with art. So people can check that out. The site is pretty rudimentary right now, and I want to evolve it, but the content is all there. So if people are searching for stories or just wanting to think about how they want to share their own, like that's a good starting place.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I do, we did hear how your name Milck came to be, your singing name came to be. But I love the idea that it's, mother's milk is so nourishing, and thinking of it that way. It's how do you explain it? The letters of your last name spelled backwards, LIM, and then your first two initials. So MILCK, right?
Yeah. Taking what my family gave me, making it my own, but not abandoning what they gave me, honoring it. And then it's like what females create to nourish the next generation.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Connie, your work and the way you're relaying your personal story so openly with the world and with us today is helping people heal. So I just want to say thank you so much for showing us how to use our stories and our own creative expression to bring more light into this world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thanks so much, Connie. That was really, really amazing.
That was so much fun.
I almost cried like 10 times.
You're good at this interviewing thing.
Yeah,
you both are good. Yeah, it's fun. I love it. I used to question. I was like, should I be a performer? I'm such an introvert, but like I love these types of conversations. Like, okay, I can do this, and you guys are good at it.
You're like
too.
an ambivert.
Yes, ambivert for sure.
Because I'm closed in around small talk, but then conversations like these, I'm like,
yes, yeah.
That's such a good way of describing it. I identify with that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. Small talk. I'm just kind of like.
Yeah, and I would shame myself about it until I took the quiz and saw like on paper, okay, this is who I am. I can honor this, and I can make decisions respecting this. Because before I would like be so hard on myself if I didn't want to go with someone to a bar or like go to a party that was going to, you know, not be exactly what I was looking for. So, so ever since I found out I was an ambivert, it's been a lot easier to be one.
Yeah, labels help sometimes put it into a box in our head, you know, like, okay.
Yeah. You can identify it. Yeah.
For sure.
It's so nice to hang with you both. Yeah. I was talking to Tom. He's like, you're going to really enjoy their podcast. Like they're so good at what they do.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, he listens to every show. I'm sure he's going to love this one, of course.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
Wow. Well, this is great.
Thank you. You don't have to do anything. Luckily, we've got all the audio and everything. So we used to have to like walk the guests through sending us their audio, and thank God we figured this out. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me know when you post it, and I'll help share.
Thank you, and I'll message you about the Houston event because I would totally love to go.
Yeah, and then I'll have like a couple guest lists. So like if you come, how far is that? From
3 hours, but it's nothing to be able to do that. So
okay, cool. Yeah, then you can come and meet people backstage.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
What area is it in?
Houston.
Houston. I thought you said Dallas.
East. Oh yeah, East.
I'm in Dallas like a lot of times a year, so that's why I was asking.
Oh, you are? Why are you in Dallas?
We have a show in Thackerville with the fight organization I work for, which is like the border of Dallas. It's in Oklahoma technically, but we fly into Dallas.
She'll be here in September next month already, because we're doing a podcast event where we do connection exercises with people, like eye gazing and some touch and things like that. So
if you're around,
well, we'll have to look at the date of the Houston. So this is September 14th.
Okay. I'm gonna be in Nashville September 3rd to 7th, and I'm gonna go to Memphis to visit.
Yes, go to Memphis. You are, I'm sure.
Yeah. Have y'all been
to Rocks? No,
a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. Oh
cool. My God, the happiest place.
Yeah.
We're working on an episode on that right now. We interviewed Chris, Tom's, one of Tom's.
Yeah.
So we're working on getting that out there.
He's so spicy, that one.
It took a lot of editing.
Really?
That's why it's not out yet, but we're working it out to help also with fundraising. So
you both like just hearts of gold. I'm learning so much. I feel like I just like tapped into this amazing community of people at Mountain Film. It's crazy.
Mountain Film has added so much beauty and magic to my life. It's crazy that it's just one event, because it's added like a lifetime worth of beauty to my life. Like Kyland and
Kyland.
I didn't even know what Telluride was until Tom took me. We were both heartbroken, so we went there for New Year's together. We helped each other mend each other's hearts, and he was like, "Yeah, let's come back in May for Mountain Film." And I couldn't stop going ever since. But I don't see those people in between Mountain Films, and then when I'm there, it's like I just feel like nothing happened in between that. So I'm sure I hope you're joining next year.
I'm a regular now. It was such a good experience. I want to bring some of my dear friends there too. I was like, you have to check it out. Yeah,
it's life-changing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll shoot. I have your number, so I'll shoot you the promo videos when we get them, and then find out. I'll look up the Houston event, text you about that, and then let me know.
Do we need to do anything? Do we want to ask about music for putting on the end, like putting?
You said it was okay, and Telluride if we play quiet at the end of this. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. We have it on. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for doing this, Connie.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, both of you. Great work.
See you soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we will. Definitely. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
All right.
All right. So
go ahead, because I'm going to do mine first since it's kind of comes off the end. So you kind of lead us into that.
I really had to fight back tears a lot during this one.
I could see it on you.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, there were multiple times where I was like, if you cry, it's gonna flow.
It's not gonna stop.
It's gonna be a flood. So just chill, take some deep breaths, continue with the conversation.
Yep. Relax your tongue. Relax your tongue.
I did
I
have to
don't
do
know if
that.
that helps with crying, but I feel like it might. I'm going to try that.
It did for me,
Anyway,
yeah. All
I
right.
like, I mean, I like, the thing is, like, lately I've been like, okay, well, if I need to cry, then I need to, like, go cry, do my thing, you know,
Oh,
let it
I
out.
normally let myself cry
Yeah.
whatever. I cry wherever. I cry all the time, but for the purpose of this interview,
Now you sound like a psycho.
I like
I just cry
crying.
every day.
No, I do. I cry when I watch Ellen. She makes me so happy. I
Yeah,
just cry.
it is really therapeutic. It is like an
Yeah.
actual release.
Yeah, no, I like crying, but not from
Anywho.
pain.
Yeah, that's
I haven't cried in a while. Let me go take a bite of wasabi. Anyhow, what's your magic trick today? Get on with it.
Okay. Magic trick today. Speaking of quiet, like Connie's song, my magic trick is how to turn traffic into a sacred place for reflection. And I could tell you that I have spent so many hours of my life sitting in this glorious LA traffic. So, I consider myself a bit of an expert on this subject. So it might seem a little bit obvious, but I think that many people actually sit and like stew in traffic and pissed off, all while knowing that being all while knowing that that's not going to change anything. So what if you could look forward to traffic instead of being super upset about it? That's not what I want to say at all. Sorry about this, John. We're going to fix it right now. So I think many people actually sit and stew while in traffic, even though they know that that's not going to do anything to change the situation. So what if you could look forward to traffic instead by making it the place you get some of your most important self-work done? Like, that would be pretty cool. Just instead of, thinking of traffic as the bane of your existence, you look at it as actually the reason you've had exponential self-growth in your life. So here are some of the things I've employed during my time in traffic. First off, and it may seem obvious, but turn off your music and whatever else you got going on while you're driving and just kind of be still with your thoughts, be with yourself. I don't know if you smoke or chew sunflower seeds or whatever else you do during driving, but try, do nothing for a little bit except for drive, because we can usually, especially if we're sitting in traffic on our way from, work to home, which is a drive we could probably do with our eyes closed. Please don't close your eyes doing it, but sit in silence and actually listen to your thoughts. It's really meditative because you're kind of just in a mode of getting from one place to the next subconsciously. And if the thought of meditating in the first place or being with yourself that intimately makes you antsy, just trust me here for a moment and stay with it against that uncomfortable quiet and see what comes up for you. You can focus on your breathing to pass the time. Just really anything until the thoughts start flowing, and I know they will. So, and by the way, when they start flowing, you can ask Siri to record a voice note of anything that pops up for you, so you can spend more time journaling on it later, so that you're not texting and driving, because we want you to get to your destination alive, of course. And I might also add that if you're a sleepy driver, like I sometimes am, I literally get, I don't know, narcoleptic, I guess is what it's called, when I start driving sometimes after work. And you need something more active for your brain to focus on than just sitting in silence, you can listen to positive affirmations. Deepak Chopra has some amazing ones on, you can get his album like on iTunes. You could listen to a self-help book, or of course you could listen to this podcast, just saying, or anything else that gets you in the mood of becoming, a better human. So
Yeah.
I seriously though, I think that these self-growth traffic sessions, as I'm calling them, have largely been behind my own growth. And because I've spent a lot of time doing that. I spent a lot of time in traffic. So therefore I've spent a lot of time trying to translate that into something positive. And I'd say that they're even a big reason why I decided I could start a podcast with Jade, doing the research I did during those drives, reading the self-help books, and then employing some of the techniques that I could while driving. So just getting that time to reflect is so important for positive progression of our lives. So instead of fighting against traffic or standing in, or, fighting against standing in a long line at the DMV or wherever you can find a line, or having to wait for any reason at all, really, when it comes up, embrace it and use it for good. That's my magic today. What do you got, Jane?
I love that because
Yeah.
it's so, when someone constantly complains in traffic, I'm like, you're making it worse. Just like, we're here. Let's make the best of it. Let's play a game. Let's talk. Let's listen to something. Like,
anything.
Traffic doesn't actually bother me. And then I was in a long relationship where it was the person would go in full on rage. And I was like, what? We're here.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do
gonna
about
change
it.
Yeah.
So I love this.
That reminds me though of like, when especially with women, when it's cold out, we're like, oh, I'm so cold. And we constantly complain about it. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
I'm copying to that. And I notice like lately that I do that. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to make that like my traffic situation. Like, how do I reverse the cold?
Let me know what you come up with.
I don't know. I'm gonna like maybe it is like the reminder for me to jog in place or do some jumping jacks, like to heat my body up, but also get a secondary workout in that day. Okay. I'll let you know how that goes.
So my magic is pulled from one of our favorite ladies, Maddie Moon. I'm going to read what she said on her Instagram post. She put, "You may not believe me yet, but honest to God, it really, truly, 100% does not matter what your body looks like. Having a body is the most incredible instrument and gift from the divine. You have a tool that allows your skin to rise from the chill of a cool mountain breeze, smell the nostalgia of warm biscuits, have head-to-toe shivers from orgasmic pleasure, hear I love yous from the special people in your life, feel the curvature of a sanctioned little spoon, big spoon cuddle, witness a passing sunrise before others awake, and read literature that sticks with you from childhood. It's a miracle what you can experience. Love it as such." And when I read that, I just fell so much more in love with life and with being in my body and with everything that every day offers. And so I thought, like, I just want everyone to hear this on our show, especially on this episode. So my invite, though, is to maybe, well, first of all, rewind, listen to that again because it's freaking good. And then love on yourself this week through touch. So you could do like a morning oil massage on your legs, which I love to do. You could do a CBD foot massage at night, which I love to do. You can masturbate because it's really good for you. And it's a form of self-love. You can do a scalp massage, immerse yourself in your own touch this week, however you want to do it, and just celebrate your body.
Yeah.
And just think of it as self-love and self-care. Yeah.
I like that. And I might also add that the oil massage on legs, just using oil on your body is, I think, super nourishing, especially if you get a clean oil that works well with you.
I like to get coconut oil and just put a touch of essential oil in the glob of coconut oil and rub it all over my body.
Ooh, so it smells super yummy. Too. I like that. I use sesame oil, and I'll tell you specifically the reason I use sesame instead of coconut or anything else is because of a previous guest of ours, Sahara Rose, who is an Ayurvedic expert. She talks about how knowing your dosha, so knowing what type of Ayurvedic medicine essentially to use for yourself, what type of diet, what type of oil to rub on your body literally is one of the very important parts of Ayurvedic medicine.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And so sesame is a warming oil. And because my body is what she calls Vata dosha. So it's complicated, people, but go back and listen to her episode if you want to know the breakdown on all that Ayurvedic medicine.
I'm going to look that up. Hopefully mine's coconut because I like to do coconut oil.
It might be. So because I'm Vata, I have the tendency to be cold. And so coconut's more of a cooling. I think she says that's would be better for what Chris is. Let's see. He's a Pitta body. So I don't remember which one you were. But in any case, for me, sesame oil, because it's warming, would be most nourishing for my skin and body and all that good stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All right, Magic Mobbers. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking this journey with us. If this episode held some magic for you, please share it with your friends and family. This would mean so much to us, you guys. And don't forget to join us on our Instagram page at The Magic Hour and let us know what your favorite episodes have been thus far.
Yes.
We appreciate all your feedback and really want to know what's lighting you up.
We really do, you guys. And we release a new episode every Monday. So you can catch us again next week, or you can go back right now and listen to some of our past episodes in our podcast library. We will meet you there. Until then, be a light.
Big thank you to @Raytone Royal for our intro jam and to John Garza from Real in Motion Productions for producing the show. Stay magical, friends. All right, let's do the intro. Okay, go ahead.
Greetings, Magic Mobbers. Welcome, boys and babes. It's that time again. It's the Magic Hour, a place where we navigate through life's peaks and valleys with all the vulnerability and shamelessness we can muster. With the help of world-class guests from all walks of life, we uncover new truths and valuable tools for manifesting our highest potential. I'm your host, Mercedes Terrell, along with my partner in shine, Jade Bryce.
Hey, you guys. I've been so excited for this day all week because of the guests that we have for you today.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get your scuba gear on for this one because she goes deep with her words.
Oh.
I get chills every single time I hear her music, which is every day because I'm obsessed with it.
It is literally life-changing. We were bawling when we heard that in Telluride. But
yeah.
Regarding your scuba gear comment there, I feel like you went there, which is amazing. I feel like we've been staying suited up in our scuba suits, scuba gear, so to speak. We started the show really. But you're right. She really does have so much beauty in her words, and we saw that in person while we were at the Telluride Mountain Film Festival this year. She blew us away when she opened up for Oprah.
Oh my God.
Music.
Oh, good.
It was so good. So good, you guys. We were literally bawling, crying from someone singing a song that we'd never heard in our lives before. I mean, like, how?
Because she's singing from her heart.
Well, so her music became the theme of the festival this year, and we were just honored to have witnessed her magic on stage and off, for that matter.
Yeah, man. I know that it honestly has been my favorite song since hearing it, and I know, Mercedes, you probably remember me asking you how you would feel about changing our intro jam to her chorus.
You literally did.
That's how much I love it. But yeah, let's get her on.
Yes.
As a child of immigrants from China, she initially performed as an independent artist for several years and appeared on the very first season of the television show The Voice. She rose to widespread attention after a video of a performance of her song Quiet at the 2017 Women's March went viral and became embraced as an anthem for the movement. Inspired by her own experiences with sexual assault, domestic abuse, and trauma as a teenager, she had written the song as a way of coping. Along with 26 other singers, she performed 7 times throughout the march among the crowd, where it was recorded and uploaded to social media, garnering 8 million views in only 2 days and shared by a number of well-known celebrities. It became an anthem for victims of sexual abuse all over the world, and within a month, she had appeared on a number of national talk shows and signed a deal with Atlantic Records. She says, "I am a survivor of abuse and anorexia and depression. It's been quite a journey getting here, and that song is the thesis of my journey as a woman, as an Asian American, and as a feminist, as a human being who has been silenced in one way or another. It's about helping people who have felt silence reclaim their power." Hers are songs of empowerment and cathartic healing for the displaced and the brokenhearted. She reminds us all that this is not the end. Connie, thank you for healing our hearts through your music. We're so honored to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Do the last line with her full name. Connie Lim, or Connie K. Lim, or how does she usually go?
Connie Lim.
Connie Lim, aka Milck.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Connie Lim, aka Milck. Thank you for healing our hearts through your music. We're so honored to have you here today. Welcome to the show. All right.
I would do it. Sorry. I would just say, where the hell is that part of that page? Here. I would say, we're so honored to have you here today. Please welcome Connie Lim, aka Milck, to the show.
So you want me to say Connie twice, or?
I think that's okay.
Okay. Connie, thank you for healing our hearts through your music. We're so honored to have you here today. Please help me. Okay, just tell me.
Please welcome Connie.
I'm just going to say the very last line.
Yeah,
So tell me what you want me to say.
Please welcome Connie Lim, aka Milck, to the Magic Hour, to the show. However you want to say it.
Please welcome Connie Lim, aka Milck, to the show.
Yeah, just because we don't say her name ever the whole time, so I feel like we have to.
At least it's in the title.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's stop recording. I need to quickly do the promo video.